Alright, so I want to start this tutorial off by, we're gonna go to the web page where you download Aseprite. It's gonna be aseprite.org. It's not a free program, you do have to pay for it. They have a trial version, but it's only 20 bucks. You can also get it on Steam. I recommend, I have it on Steam, but you can always just get it from the website here, it doesn't really matter. You just click buy now, you download it. You go, depending on your operating software, obviously. And then it just saves it right into your download folder. And then once you have that up, we can start. So first off, you would go to new, and it starts you off with a few different options. You got grayscale, you got indexed, RGB. Typically you start RGB with transparent background. You can always add your own backgrounds. You don't need to start off with one, but it's all preference. You can do your 128 by 128 or whatever size your canvas is, you know, width and height. You've got advanced options for pixel aspect ratio, so you got just your standard RGB here. You can select between the colors, paint, and then you've got the aspect ratios. So you can do this 2 by 1. This kind of stretches it a little bit stretches its width a little bit, and then you got the 1 by 2, which stretches its height. Then you've got the grayscale, which it just starts you off with a grayscale. Depends on what kind of picture you're really going for. And then we've got the indexed mode, which is a little bit more advanced, but once you figure it out, it's actually a very useful tool. You got your color here, and you can go here and you can actually just change the color depending on how you need and whatever you need to do. It's very nice, and you don't have to sit there and erase and re-put the colors down. It works with shading, trying to get different shades and stuff, really easy. And once we get into a canvas, we'll lower this down, we're not getting into that just yet. So we've got file here. You can start a new project. You can open recent. It saves up to a certain amount. You can clear it. You got your save as. You can export and import images, and it does a pretty good job, like with the resolution and stuff too when you import images. It's actually very useful for pulling colors and stuff like that if you're trying to make a color palette or anything like that. And then if you do any kind of scripting, you can add that too. Edit, you got your undo history, you can paste, fill, stroke. It's a bunch of different options in here. There's actually some really useful ones, but we get in those later at another point. You got sprite size, canvas size, you got your layer options, you got your different frame options. If you do any kind of animation, you can do select if you're trying to select specific areas of the image. And then your view, dealing with the different options. You can do your grid, you can do tiled mode, onion skins, loop sections, and then the help section. And then to start drawing, you can just select a color here. You can hit B, or you can go and change your brush settings over here. You've got different options here. You've got the lasso select, you've got the different marquee tools, you've got your eraser or your pencil and spray tool, your eraser, eyedropper, hand tool if you're trying to move things around. You got the move tool if you're trying to move your image around. You got the paint bucket, gradient, line, curve, all of your different elliptical tools, contour, polygon, blur, jumble. They give you quite a few different options, and we're going to start off with just the brush here. So up here, if you look, you can change the size and the shape of the brush depending on what you're looking for. If you hold control and then use your mouse wheel, you can change the size of the brush. So you got the square brush here and you've got the circle brush. And then here you've got the your different settings for the brush. So if you're trying to do like, so say you've got this thing here and you just want to affect the object itself, the image itself, you don't want to add anything to it, you know? You would go up here and you can do lock alpha. And what that does is that keeps the brush only locked to the image. And that allows you to do more advanced shading, keeps you from having to sit there and go and erase stuff. A lot of this other stuff, the shading tool is really nice. So you can select multiple colors, and up here if you see, you've got these 4 colors here. And if you draw, depending on what direction, you can actually change the colors and do shading. It's a very handy tool. So we covered the basic brush settings. We've got your stabilizer. So if you use like a tablet or anything like that, it really helps. Or if you're just trying to get some smoother lines going, it's a very effective tool. And then you got your pixel perfect. So pixel perfect. So if we go here and I draw a diagonal line, see how it's got those, like it looks solid? It doesn't really look all that great. But if we turn on pixel perfect, we actually get a more broken line, and it actually makes it look nicer with pixel art. You always want to try to avoid these real thick dark lines. You want to try to get some even thin lines going. And then over here you got your mirror options. So whatever you draw on one side, it draws it on the other side of this blue line. It's changeable. You can move it over here, draw over here. You can even do the horizontal line, and it's the same way. Whatever you draw on one side, it draws on the other. You can have them both up too and draw on multiple sides. Next we can move on to, so we can start looking at like the color wheel. If you're doing any kind, like, you know, you need to change your color, looking for specific colors. You can do RGB where you just change the whole color, or you can do the hue, saturation, and values where you actually change the color. You can actually affect the color itself. So if you need it to be more saturated or more, or you need to change the value on it and make it darker or lighter. And then you've got here, you've got your layers. So you can hold shift and then hit N, and it creates a whole new layer. And if you draw, it will actually draw over top of the previous image. So we can do it like this, just fill this in. And then if you see, we can actually move this and manipulate it without affecting the whole image itself. And you can do one, you can go under, you just drag, you want to select the layer, and then you just drag it from the top or bottom line, and you can change the positioning of the layers. And it's just, now it's behind. It's very simple. And then if you're doing any kind of animating, you can hold Alt in and you can add new frames, which essentially just allow you to here, let's clear these up real quick. So say you're just trying to make something move real quick, you can place it here, and then you can go here and place it here, and then it will essentially just, it cycles through the frames and animates it. There's another little thing with animating too. You can do onion frames, which just allows you to see the previous frame. It can get a little bit more advanced, but essentially it's really helpful with animating. So you see here I have the frame I'm currently selecting, and then if I go to the previous frame, you can see it's now just outlined, and you can still see it there. And it's very helpful to determine the positioning of the animation while you're animating. I think that's really it for most of the basics. If you guys want to see more, just like, subscribe, and let me know, and we'll make some more.